Welcome to the Black College Sports and Education Foundation weekly podcast, where we equip students, athletes, their families, and supporters with vital tools and information that will impact their decisions on educational opportunities and careers. Tune in every Thursday night at 7 Eastern Standard Time as we host prominent guests from a variety of backgrounds, such as education, sports, medicine, and the corporate world. Remember, the Black College Sports and Education Foundation is your one-stop resource center. Now here's your host, Gil McGregor.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to BC Sports Foundation's podcast. I'm your host, Gil McGregor, and it's good to join you again this week. And as in every week, we have great personalities, great individuals, people who've done magnificent things in their field. And guess what? Today is no different. I am more than pleased to bring to you, all of you who don't already know, one of the legends of track and field coaching in America. I'm talking about a gentleman who has done it all at every level, and champion is at the end, the beginning, and it would be at the middle of his name, but I'm talking about a guy who has accomplished some things that are just way beyond most people's imagination. One of those things I want to say that I'm almost most proud of is that he's my friend. But I want to introduce to you Sir George Williams, and I want to make sure you heard me correctly. That's Sir George Williams, and we don't call him Sir because we're being funny. We're calling him Sir because he's been knighted by the Queen of England. So, ladies and gentlemen, track coach, athletic director at St. Aug, my friend, Sir George Pup Williams. Coach, thank you for this podcast.
Thank you, Gil. Good to be here with you, man. We go back a while, and that's a blessing that we're both still here.
It is a blessing. And it's also a blessing to all the young men and young women who've had a chance to call you coach or call you sir or whatever you want them to call you. And athletic director, how have you managed to do all of this, George, and keep winning championships starting way back when?
Well, one thing I learned in life, God didn't make winners and God didn't make losers. He made choosers, so I made some good choices.
Well, talk about the beginning. Miami, Florida?
Miami, Florida, down home. And coming up in Miami, I played sports at Booker T. Washington High School and had some great friends. I was talking about one of my friends the other day and a couple of guys that I walked to school with. And one of them is Larry Little. The audience might not know him. And the other one's named Les Brown and his brother Wes. We all lived in an area called Overtown. Okay. Now they have changed the name of it. They call it Overton now because we were right downtown. Okay.
Okay.
But that's the way it worked. And then at Booker T, I was a high school All-American basketball player. And I ran track and tried to go on that football field, but those guys were a little too good for me.
Okay.
So I shut that down. But we trained on Dixie Park. Never forget, Muhammad Ali used to train out there with us. And my uncle put the first record recording in his car, in his Cadillac. He ride down 3rd Avenue in.
All right.
And, yeah, so it's been a good ride.
When you left Miami, you came north to North Carolina. Talk about that trip. How did that happen?
Yeah, I was going out to the University of Kansas in Lawrence, and some things happened, and I came back home. And when I got home, it was sometime like in October. And the fellows in Miami who went to Booker T. Washington was at St. Augustine University, and they found out that I was back home. They told the coach, and the coach came down and said, hey, man, come on over to St. Aug, and Coach Quiet and Coach Curry. And I said, okay. So it was October. I never forget, October the 22nd. I mean, it's almost midterm. And I got up there. It was cold, a little chilly, and I didn't have no coat. I didn't have no coat or anything. But the sad part about it, I came up on a bus, and when I got to South Carolina, the guy made me get out of my seat. Made a white lady sit in my seat, and I had to stand up from South Carolina all the way to Raleigh.
Wow.
Yeah, but, that's fast. I ain't standing no more. You can't hardly sit, really. But and got to St. Augustine University, and they told me I can play. I was playing basketball, which I made the basketball team and everything as a freshman. And I struggled the first year. You probably thought my name was Charlie because I think I made all C's and D's, okay? But I got it together, I got it together the next year and pretty good average and had enough average to pledge Kappa Alpha Psi, so that was a good thing. So after I finished St. Augustine University, I went up to try out for the Detroit Pistons, and that's when Dave the Butcher, Behind, and all those guys up there. So that was a short deal, around about 2 months, and I was back in Raleigh. And then when I got back in Raleigh, I taught elementary school for 4 years.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think I was one of the first people to integrate the school system in Wake County.
Well, I know when you and I met, you certainly had turned that whole education thing around because, if I'm not mistaken, you were in grad school.
Right, I sure was. Yep. I was in grad school, and you guys were calling me the FBI because I could sit up and have lunch with the president every other day. I ain't gonna forget that either.
And after that, when did the coaching part start, Sir George? When did that begin?
Okay, what happened is when I got to St. Augustine University, they asked me to be in charge of alumni affairs because being an athlete and knowing a lot of folks and, a little gift for gab sometimes, they said, hey, you'll be good for that. So I was with the Alumni Association and helping them out. And then another issue came up, and they asked me would I help with student affairs. So I helped with student affairs. And then they asked me, said, well, boy, you good. We need you to help recruit. And I got in recruiting, and you couldn't believe that I recruited. St. Aug had 2,000 students when I was recruiting. We had to find hotel rooms to put them in and everything. And Harvey Holly asked me to help him out with basketball because he knew I was a good basketball player, and I helped him out with basketball. And it was going good and everything. And then one day, Dr. Davis, Wally Davis, came by and asked me, said, well, look, could you hold a track program out until we get somebody else? That was in 1976. And I said, yeah. And so I was interim track coach from 76 to 1996, and I was the Olympic coach then.
An interim coach for 20 years?
20 years.
And ended up at the Olympics.
Right.
That's something right there.
And while I was at the Olympics, the coaches at St. Augustine voted for me to be the athletic director because Harvey Holly was stepping down. So they voted that I would be the athletic director in 96. And then once I got that job, Dr. Franklin also made me head track and field coach too at the same time. And so it's been all uphill and a downhill struggle, but it's been more up.
Now let's talk about some of these track teams you've had. And let's start with the men's. And let's talk about the championships and some of the individuals that you've had a chance to coach, not only at St. Augustine, but internationally, because you're not just a regular old guy. You're kind of all over. So hit me first with the men's program.
Well, with men, I've had some good people. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to someone. It's going to be a real highlight for me if I get a chance to go to the 2020 Olympics, because that is where my first athlete won the world championship on the men's side. Antonio Pettigrew won the 400 at the world championship. He was the world champion. I think he ran 44-36 at that games, So that's kind of like really a highlight for me to go back to Tokyo, Konnichiwa, arigato, watch the mustache, okay? And
arigato.
I would love, arigato, right? I would love to go back, Konnichiwa, okay? All right.
Okay.
And get back to Tokyo, and it's going to bring a lot of memories back. And I've had Jerome Young, who ran 44.09, won the USA champion. And so, Antonio, I've had guys on the 4x1 relay for the USA who got gold medals, and on the 4x4. It's just been a good ride for these young folks. I graduate 95% of my student athletes, so all these people we're talking about. And Rashawn Jackson, 400-meter hurdles world champion in Seville, Spain. He ran in that. In Seville, Spain, that was the first time I had a group of guys that the United States hadn't won a 4x1 relay in 7 years. And I had on that team John Drummond, Tim Montgomery, Brian Lewis, and Maurice Green. And they set a record. And they beat the Brits. The Brits are pretty rough people. When they see you, they'll talk a lot of mess. Boy, the Brits, they talk mess. You ain't see nobody talk mess like the Brits, man. And I've coached some British athletes that won medals, and I just coached so many kids, man. I've had Carl Lewis, and I coached in the 96 games, and everybody I was in charge of won a gold medal from Michael Johnson on up, So It's been a good ride.
What tell us about some of the women's champions?
Okay, the women champions, they've been great. I got a little girl running right now. Once she was ranking number 1 in the world, but right now she done dropped to about 5. She runs for Barbados, and they got the academic award. They got the highest academic award for D2. Got a lot of academics in them ladies, boy. They gonna get them books, you know. You know, if you want to come to St. Aug, you don't have but 3 things to do. That's academic first, athletic second, and a controlled social life third. If you go on that route, you'll be in that 95% of graduation.
See, and I'm glad you said it because I was going to ask you, what is it that you look for when you decide that this can be a student athlete?
I'm looking for a kid that want to go to college, want to do something for himself, his family, and his friends, you know. In coaching, as well as you know, Gilbert, you went to Wake Forest. Well, God, if you wasn't 6'8", 6'9", and you didn't bring nothing to the table, then the coach at Wake Forest couldn't eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these kids, I'm looking for, they're going to bring something to the table because I can't make them run fast. If I could make a kid run fast, I bet you any kind of money, my daughter would have been a world-class sprinter instead of a PhD sprinter.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Yeah, but she decided to go that education route because I couldn't make her run fast, okay? But just like anything in life, you get what the good Lord give you and you develop it and mold it because I don't know no coach can make talent. I really don't. You know, talent is something given by their birthright. You know, I always tell the story, and I know it and you know it as well as I do. A thoroughbred could be a jackass, but a jackass ain't gonna never be a thoroughbred.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I'm talking about.
Tell us who were some of the people, some of the names along the way that inspired George Williams.
Well, you know, you start off with your mother and father. My father died when I was young, and my mom and my aunts and cousins. I had enough cousins that I grew up with, like Lester Young and General White, that I grew up with that, you know, we all hung out together and made sure that we were going to be better than what the community had offered to us, okay? Then I had some teachers. I had some pretty good teachers that really inspired me to say, hey, you know, you can do it. Get it together, make it work. And then when I got to the university, I had Dr. Wiley Davis, man. That guy, man, God bless him. That guy was so awesome, man. Every kid who ever gone to St. Aug can speak about him. He taught you the right thing. You know, when you're young, you always got a little something you want to do. I always tell my kids, you know, y'all can go ahead and talk and tell me how good you are, but being human, I'm seeing all human beings, everybody got a little sneak in them, you know? So it's just being a human being, you know, it ain't nothing personal, it ain't nothing you want to do, but it just happened that way sometime, you know? Yeah. But other than that, life has been good, but those guys and those people in Big House Games was, man, that guy, him and Leroy Walker. Now, Leroy Walker started me out in track and field. Everything I do is Leroy Walker. But you know, one of the amazing things that don't happen now, when we used to go to the CIAA tournament, this is honest truth, I used to have breakfast with Leroy Walker, Johnny McClain, Big House Games, Bobby Vaughn. Bobby Vaughn was a good guy in my life, too. And all these guys, man, and they would talk there and tell me how to do things and how things work, you know, because like I always tell people, I learned from them, you know, you have to be in the huddle to know the play, you know?
Yes.
So that's why I don't complain about nothing anybody do if I'm not in the huddle, you know, because the huddle predicts a lot of stuff you can't even dream of, you know. So I always tell people, if you ain't in the huddle, you don't know the play, okay? It's just that simple.
Well, now, George, I remember, was it a couple of years ago that you had a French runner, and I had a chance to try to speak to her a little bit, you know, and see how she was doing there. But what I want people to hear about, and I want to take not a lot of time, I'm going to take a little time just to introduce this. I know a lot of folks who are listening to us had a chance to go to the movies. They enjoy the movies, and they've seen the movies The Black Knight.
Right.
But what they might not realize is they're listening to, and that I am talking to an actual black man that was knighted by the Queen of England. Will you share with us what it's like to actually be Sir George Williams? When did it happen?
We were in Cotswold, England in 1985, and I was making a speech, and the Queen was there, and everybody been calling me Sir George. I said, I am so pleased and so proud to be in England and to compete against England with the USA team. And I'm so glad that the father country has took us up, and then Queen Elizabeth gave over and said, "No, Sir George, you mean the mother country." And so I said, "Sir George," ever since, okay? And I said, I was just seeing who was listening, that's all. And she said, "Well, you Sir George from now on out." That was great.
Overtown to Overton to St. Aug in Raleigh to Sir George. What a trip by step, the people that you see, that you've talked to. George, talk to us a little bit about your program now, because before we let you go, I want you to talk about your program now, where y'all headed, how people can get in touch with you if they think they can run, if they think they are the thoroughbred that don't want to be the jackass, how they can contact you and how they can make sure that they get an opportunity that you might can afford to them at a great HBCU like St. Augustine University.
Well, it's amazing, but it's been a good ride. This is my 43rd year, and sometimes I always doubt myself, well, am I a really great coach? Because I've been coaching for 43 years, but we only won 39 national championships.
Oh, well, you were loafing about 2 or 3 years. You were taking a couple of years off, I guess. 39
I got
championships.
And so that is the winningest track and field championships in any division, whether it's 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
And we've developed 42 Olympians. And 42. As I said before, we got a 95% graduation rate. We got
wonderful.
We got, I think, about 4 gold medalists and 5 silver and 3 or 4 bronze out of the Olympics. And we've had about 3 or 4 world champions. Wow. And so we've had a good ride. And this team holds the Division II national record in the 4x1. We ran 38-40-something. And in the 40-something years, we've only lost about 5 or 6 mile relays. So it's been a good ride. We've got some great kids. St. Augustine's is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a Division II school. We have about 900 to 1,000 students.
Okay.
And we do have track scholarships. We have scholarships for all our programs: track, football, basketball, volleyball, softball, and we've managed it well. And like any schools, you started out, like my track program, I started out as a participatory program, and then I went to a competitive program, and now we're a championship program.
Okay.
And that's where we've gone, and now we're a world-class program. You can probably go anywhere. Matter of fact, I got the Chinese. I'm coaching the Chinese now for Doha. I leave for Doha in September the 22nd until October the 6th at the World Championship.
Okay.
So I got 6 or 7 St. Aug students will be running in the World Championship, and former students, and 1 student, another former student. And I have some of the Chinese that will be there. And sometimes I coach the Brits. I'm not coaching the Brits this year, but I coach a lot of the international teams. I'm happy with the students graduating. All these numbers and figures, it don't mean nothing. You've been knowing me for a while, Gil.
Yes.
I'm about my people, and I'm about their success. Our kids now don't like to go to small schools or HBCU schools or D2 schools because they think D1 is the thing. But I always tell anybody, school don't make you, you make the school.
All right.
So in Wake Forest, it was a good school, but it didn't make you. You made Wake Forest. You did the right thing. You made good choices,
That's what I want to hear you say, because what I wanted to say is if you want to get graduated, you talk about 95% graduation rate. Mm-hmm. You want international experiences. You're talking about the opportunity to do that. You want to go to an HBCU that's small enough to care about you and look out for you.
Right.
You got that. Mm-hmm. You're the AD running a program that is solid and is in place. And Raleigh, North Carolina ain't a bad town to be in. Tell the kids that they have an opportunity to come and excel and be successful and be happy and be educated at St. Augustine's University. I'm glad to hear you say that, George.
And I finished St. Augustine's University, and I'm a graduate of St. Augustine's University, and I'm also the 2004 head United States Olympic coach, okay?
Okay.
I'm the 96 assistant Olympic coach. I'm the world championship coach in Seville, Spain. I'm the world indoor coach in Toronto, Canada. And I'm in 9 Hall of Fame, so do you need a PhD or do you need a Phi Beta Kappa to know what's going on here? Huh?
Well, I hear you.
That's
why we want to have you on, because we want people to know, because too many people don't know. Too many people don't know, George, and too many young people don't know.
Well, it's just like you get no honors home, just like you say. When I'm in England, they call me Sir George. When I'm in South America, they call me Senor Jorge. When I'm in Africa, they call me Desmond Duman. That means the mighty one. When I'm home, I ain't going to tell you what they call me here, but we'll figure it out. Okay?
But just don't call you late for dinner.
Right. Well, I always tell people, though, I take my time all the time when I get here because I really remember this. I can live with George Williams being late than the late George Williams, okay?
I got you. Let me tell you this. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your message. And we're proud not only of you, George, we are proud with you. And we thank you for spending time. I thank you for your friendship for all these years. And not all that you've done, all that you are doing. And we want all the young people and the old people to understand HBCUs, they are where it's at because of people like Sir George Williams. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for being on our podcast.
I appreciate you. Keep it up. You and your staff, man. Y'all first class. I appreciate you. Take care. Love you, man.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay.
You've heard from a legendary coach with dynasty programs, great individual accomplishments, a personality second to none. And we thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. I've been your host, Gil McGregor. You join us next week for more exciting, informative, and entertaining guests. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. For more information about us, please visit our website at www.bcsportsfoundation.com. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at HBCU for Life. That's HBCU, the number 4, Life. To be a potential guest on our podcast, contact Ed J. Hayes at ed.j.hayes@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another amazing show.